The Ducks lost again. They not only lost again, they got shut out again. I can't believe it. Oh, there's a big surprise. That's an incredible. I think I'm going to have a heart attack and die from that surprise. What are we going to do? We got a big problem here. A big.
You're Locked On Ducks, your daily podcast on the Anaheim Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yeah, it's been that kind of season, folks. Welcome to Locked On Anaheim Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, or TLOPN, or to spell it out, TLOPN. I'm your host, Jason JD Hernandez. Can you tell already, folks? I've been covering hockey for over a decade, minor league hockey for that long, and I've been the host of Locked On Anaheim Ducks for the past 5 seasons. Almost 5 complete seasons. You know how many playoff appearances there's been? 0. But you know what? I am not going to do this alone. No way I'm not going to do this alone, because I've got a guest with me. Thank goodness. I've got Seth Toupal from Locked On Wild. And before you get going, I'm going to make you feel more at home aside from the jerseys. Since you're wearing your beanie, while you introduce yourself, I got my beanie that you're going to like. So tell the folks who you are, all that jazz.
What's happening, Ducks fans? Seth Toupal, host of Locked On Wild, here to help break down a 2-0 win for the Minnesota Wilds to keep them in the playoff chase as the Vegas Golden Knights start to feel the heat.
We here at Locked On Anaheim Ducks don't like certain teams. And the Vegas Golden Knights are definitely one of those teams that we wouldn't mind if they missed the playoffs despite their cap shenanigans again. It could
Their
be.
cap maneuverability is probably a polite way to put it.
Polite of sorts. By the way, I thought you'd like that. This is the OG. This beanie, by the way, is over 20 years old. I know when I got this. This was back in 2000. So it's a long time ago.
And I love every bit of it. It's an elite piece of Ducks lore.
It's also reversible.
Oh, there we go.
Yep.
Mine is
all right. No, but it's still cool though. Still cool. So the offense for the Ducks was straight up offensive, and by that, I mean non-existent again. The Ducks have had these kind of games. I mean, Mama said there'd be days like this, but I don't think Mama saw unexpected goals under 1 for the Anaheim Ducks. Yes, it is possible to expect to score under 1 goal, which they did. According to our friends at Natural Stat Trick, the expected goals were 2.44 to 0.92. Seth, correct me if I'm wrong, but 0.92, that's less than 1, right?
I'm not what many would call a great math person. I'm not a math wizard by any stretch, but yes, I do believe 0.93 is slightly below 1.
Yeah, so were you at all surprised that the Ducks were just shut out in this one? I mean, I will give credit to Minnesota's defense. They did what they had to do, right?
Yeah, it's interesting because you look at how things played out in the first period, especially. And my kind of going into that first intermission, I was like, the Ducks low-key kind of like holding their own in this game. And then that second period, it just was completely flipped. The Wild had a 15-2 edge in shots. All of a sudden you look up and the Wild have 23 on the board and the Ducks are stuck at 9. It's just, and I'm sure this is how this story is played out for the Ducks for most of the season, is that you get some of that fight early on. You get a little push by a team that is by and large not expected to win these games. So you get that push, especially as the road team, but then the other team kind of takes that second period to, oh, okay, now we should probably show up and start trying in this game. And They did that, and then the third period, a little bit of a push by the Ducks, but yeah, it was for the most part, it was a lot of the Wild controlling the puck. Even though they themselves missed a bunch of chances, which has been a common theme here over the last few games.
Yeah, but I also felt that Minnesota, they trapped the puck a lot. They kept it in the corners. They kept it on their skate, just trying to burn clock, which a lot of teams are very good at against the Ducks because Ducks are always playing from behind. But this has been a common theme, not just this season, but the last 2 seasons, 3 seasons. As long as I've hosted Locked On Ducks, this has been just a common theme where they have 1 or 1.5 good periods where they can kind of hold their own and keep pace with whoever they're playing. And then all of a sudden they forget how to hockey. That's a lot of rinse repeat. And especially against Minnesota.
Well, and it's an ongoing process, I'm sure, to, especially with players out of the lineup, to try to get line combinations that can sustain presence in the offensive zone. That's something that the Wild have struggled with too, is you've got a couple of lines, obviously Kirill Kaprizov just continuing to do his thing right now. That helps. But beyond that, there have been stretches in which the Wild just have not been able to really consistently get into the offensive zone. And last I checked, if you don't hold the zone, you don't get a lot of shots on net. And so all of that stuff kind of trickles down to, if you're not possessing the puck, you're not getting into the offensive zone, you're not getting shots on net, you're not getting goals. It's all just cyclical.
There was about a 2.5 minute period where the Ducks just could not get the puck out of their own zone. And I'm like, this is getting frustrating again, because I've seen this time and time again. But was it just me, or it felt like an eternity? I know it's only 2.5, almost 3 minutes, but good God, get the puck out of the zone challenge.
Well, and especially that power play. Like, there was that one power play sequence in which the Wild had the puck the entire time. And just, I threw a GIF out of a bunch of hyenas circling a lion on Twitter. And I was like,
that's why I quoted Disney at the intro. You see what I did?
Yes. Well done. Well done. There just were a few stretches, especially that power play, but others where the Wild had the zone for, like, anytime you hear the broadcast team say the Wild are going to try to get a change without vacating the zone, you're like, oh, okay, they've been here for a minute. They've been on this side of the ice for a minute or two.
Yeah. That's what it's been like a lot of the season. But especially against teams like Minnesota, who are really trying to get into a playoff spot, which we'll get to momentarily. But I guess just my final thoughts on the lack of offense. The Ducks need help. They need their offensive guys back. I know they just traded Adam Henrique, who is a middle six kind of guy, but top six for the Ducks. They're missing too many players. I mean, Leo Carlsson, he's out still. You miss guys like Leo Carlsson. You miss guys like Trevor Zegras, who is a very gifted offensive player. And now you're going to miss guys like Radko Gudas, thanks to that big hit, which I'll let you talk about for about 20 seconds. That was a solid hit. That was a solid hit, is what it was.
Yeah, and I think the exact term that I used there was, I said something that I remember thinking afterwards. I was like, that was kind of a weird way to phrase that. It was Marcus Johansson, who has become a little bit of a folk hero for the wrong reason here in Minnesota, because a lot of his minutes are empty calories. He's out there on the ice. He's not really contributing a lot in the way of shots or anything else. I tweeted out, Marcus Johansson just crumple dusted Radko Gudas. I don't know what that means. That felt like the best way to summarize that hit. And that was his biggest impact, I think, of the game. But, hopefully Gudas is okay. I know Johansson after the play, did the check to make sure he's all right, kind of help him up things. So that I'm glad that was a situation where it's like, oh, this is just a heavy hit. Everybody make sure everybody's relatively okay, and then you move on to the rest of the hockey.
Yeah, which is why I didn't feel bad about it at all. And as soon as the hit took place, and I saw he motioned like, oh, like he needs a little help here. So I didn't deem it a dirty hit at all. By the way, crumple dusted.
No idea. No idea.
I'm going to use that at some point. We're going to head to the first intermission right now. We're going to talk a little bit more, break down this 2-0 Minnesota Wild win, a much needed win for the Wild. So we'll talk more about that on the other side. Now a brief word from Robinhood. Yes, did you know that even if you have a 401k for retirement, you can still have an IRA? Robinhood has the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this, now through April 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer from other retirement accounts with a 3% match. That's right, no cap on the 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. This offer is good through April 30th. Get started at robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply. And now for some legal jargon. Claim as of Q1 2024. Investing involves risk, including loss. Limitations apply to IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year from the date of the first 3% match. Must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. The 3% matching on transfers is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA is available to U.S. customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, is a registered broker-dealer. Welcome back to Locked On Anaheim Ducks, Locked On Minnesota Wild crossover. I say the cities because there's another Locked On Ducks, that team from Oregon. Yeah.
Not another Minnesota Wild at this point, but you never know.
Yeah.
There could be.
I mean, you got the Junior Wild.
We do have the Iowa Wild.
You have the Iowa Wild, who are looking okay these days. I mean, they're not the juggernaut that the Milwaukee Admirals are.
They're trying. They're giving it their best out there.
Yeah, but I will just point out that the team that I do public address for, the Coachella Valley Firebirds, are in fact in first place in the West. Just saying. Ooh. All right, let's break down this 2-0 loss to the Minnesota Wild, which sucked for the Ducks. They did get off to a hot start. They actually got some good quality shots on goal. They got some good in-close shots on goal. A little bit surprising to see early on. By the way, the shots on goal in the first period was 10-7 in favor of the Wild. The shot attempts, not terrible. It was 17-13 in favor of Minnesota. They looked okay.
Yeah.
What was your takeaway from that first period?
It was a period in which it felt like it took the Wilds, and I don't know if they were kind of skimming past this one for the Saturday matchup against the St. Louis Blues, which means
big
everything at this point in the season. So I don't know if there was a little bit of that, but it felt kind of like all eyes, including those on the ice, were on Murat Kuznetsov to start it, kind of just waiting to see what he was going to do. And his first shift out there, he wins a face-off, and he just goes right to the boards to try to win a puck battle. And I think at that point, the team was like, okay, this kid can play a little bit. And second period, things it was like somebody just flipped on a light switch, and the rest was history.
Yeah, so Zach Bogosian got the first goal of the game, really the first Wild goal. Kind of just to pass the puck around, get it to an open Zach Bogosian. Pretty solid shot. I don't think it was necessarily screened. I think that was just a good shot.
Yeah.
Dostal just got beat on that one.
I kind of nerded out when he shot that puck because Marco Rossi bounced it off the boards. And the amount of times that I've seen the Minnesota Wild this year take that exact same shot and just cannon it into the netting or not get it within the pipes or any other number of inaccuracies. I was a little concerned, but he nailed it. And I have really liked what Zach Bogosian has brought to the table for this Minnesota Wild team. He's not an offensive defenseman, but he is at least willing to shoot the puck. And so for him to get that shot from there and just muscle it past Lukas Dostal, I was excited there. And I was glad that Marco Rossi was able to get in on that action because he's gone dry a little bit in the points perspective lately. So him being able to get in on it that way too, that was a chef's kiss goal to start things off.
Yeah, it was. But that wasn't the chef's kiss of the game. The chef's kiss of the game, at least for my money personally, was that second goal by the Minnesota Wild because I thought the Ducks were going to tie the game. So I've talked on this podcast about Brett Leason, who I think deserves more time. This is a player that you may not have heard of because Brett Leason has, for some reason, I still don't know why, Greg Cronin is limiting his minutes for whatever reason or has put him on the fourth line. And I've said, and other fans have said, no, like this guy's actually pretty solid. He can motor. He's got a good shot. Play him more than 10 or 11 minutes a game. And that was the moment where I was sitting there going, tie game. Nope. And Leason, he beat the defenseman. So credit to Cam Fowler getting the pass out. But I know one of the guys he beat, he beat John Merrill. I know that. Chisholm. So Leason beat Merrill and Chisholm, got an open shot, breakaway, and Leason got denied by Marc-Andre Fleury. We flip it the other way. And as we've seen several times in the National Hockey League, when you get a big stop one way, oftentimes going the other way, you get a big goal. That felt like the backbreaker. Talk about just that play and that goal for a second from the Wild perspective.
Well, it was real quintessential what this Wild team has been getting here recently is it's Marc-Andre Fleury making a big play on one end, and it's Kirill Kaprizov leading the charge on the other to pick up yet another goal. Dude is leading the NHL in goals here over the last 25 games. He's at 21 goals now, and the first 2 months of the season, I remember we're talking in one of our postcast episodes. Is Kaprizov even going to get to 20 goals? He was stuck at 7 goals, 13 assists through the first 20 games of the season. We're panicked. We're like, he doesn't look anywhere close to where he's been in previous seasons. And it seems like now 40 goals this year is a cinch. He's got an outside shot at 100 points and an outer side shot at 50 goals.
I don't know about 50 goals. I don't know. That's pretty lofty. I think 100 points is more likely.
He'd need 16 goals in 15 games, which is that's an Austin Matthews level. That's a McDavid
Have him play
level.
the Ducks 10 times. Well, he'll get there.
And the Sharks.
God, the Sharks. The Sharks. Anyway, but that was the moment where that's the Ducks. So to your point, that's the Wild's season. Mm-hmm. That's the Ducks season in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Is those limited moments that they have. They just do not capitalize it. Or when that happens, they kind of ease off a little bit and allow another goal. By the way, that was a bad line change by the Ducks too. So while I give credit to Fleury for that one, and Fleury deserves all the credit, that was a bad change going the other way, which is why you had Pavel Mintyukov as the lone defenseman back there. And I'll give credit where credit's due. That was a sick saucer pass by Hartman.
Yeah.
That was a nice one.
Ryan Hartman's an interesting player for Minnesota because it seems like depending on how much he goes to the penalty box is kind of how people perceive him on this team. If he's not going to the box, which he has not over the last several games, hardly at all, fan favorite. Like fans love him. Huge contributor. He can play anywhere up and down the lineup. And obviously now with Joel Eriksson hurt, Hartman slides in on that top line and he just keeps making plays. He scored in 2 straight games. He's now recorded a point in 3 straight. As long as he can just kind of manage the penalties, which it's like an elementary school kid who just can't stay out of the principal's office. Like if he can just limit that a little bit, he'll be fine. He'll be okay.
Alex Killorn over here, where he did really well in 4 consecutive games, then had a dumb penalty a couple of games ago, and then just this game he didn't look good at all himself. He's got to stay out of the box. It
just snowballs. Like one penalty leads to 2, leads to all of a sudden you've got 5 in a 4-game span, and then your coach is mentioning to the media like he's got to stay out of the box. Like it's cyclical.
Yeah. I want to talk about Lukas Dostal for a couple minutes because in that second period, 15-2 were the shots, and one of those shots was the save that Marc-Andre Fleury made to put it the other way for a goal. After that, it was all Minnesota, and Dostal, to his credit, made some pretty solid saves there. He kept it 2-0 for a long time. It gave Ducks fans just that slight smidgen of hope that maybe they can at least get one and maybe score another one. Although it's Minnesota, I knew as soon as it was 2-0, like, no, they're done. Because I've seen, okay, remember that game from 2 years ago when the Ducks were winning with a couple of minutes left at Minnesota?
Yep.
And y'all scored 2 goals late in the game. It was bad enough that they tied the game. Then they won the game with a few seconds left. And that's pretty much every game at Minnesota. So as soon as it was 2-0, like I knew. I already knew. You remember that game?
I vividly remember that game. And
of course you do.
We had the rare instance in which, right before the All-Star break, the Wild had a 2-0 lead in that one, and all of a sudden the Ducks just start chipping away, and Troy Terry out of the box, and I'll never forget it because I see him come out of the box and I see him get the puck, and I'm like, what now? And he scored.
Yep. Mine was the other way. I was like, he's got it. He's got it. It's on his stick. Bam.
And the worst part too, and I tried to give credit because Ryan Hartman was back there. It seems like everything with the Ducks, Ryan Hartman's involved. He was back trying to defend. He actually blocked a shot like off the side of his ankle. So like there's not anything more that you can do about that. But Philip Gustafsson kicked the rebound out right back to Troy Terry, and he just was like, oh, I'll just shoot this again and make it this time.
Yeah. He did. So I promised that I would talk about Dostal. I know it says Dostal. We talked about it for like 30 seconds. The expected goals, as I mentioned, were 2.44. So Dostal was actually above expected on this game. A .44 game score, which is not bad. The high danger chances on this one heavily favored the Minnesota Wild because, of course, the high danger chances on this game, Seth, 12-3. The Ducks only had 3 high danger chances, and that was it. But 12 going the other way, that's a good amount. And Dostal stopped a lot of them. I will give credit. Dostal is good at defending those high danger chances, save for the one against Kaprizov, but that was the perfect pass.
Yeah.
Like it had to be a saucer pass.
That's just one of those that you can't really do anything about as a goalie because if you commit to the Kaprizov side, then Kaprizov still has enough room to be able to pass it back to Hartman. Like there just is really not a lot other than making like an extraordinary save that you can do in that situation. Yeah,
I mean, I don't fault Dostal for this one because the first one, just a rocket shot. The second one, perfect 2-on-1 play, perfect pass. So I will give credit. Like Dostal This is actually kind of funny. So I talked with the Locked On Sens guys, and one of them even said Dostal is a star in this league. Do you see potential, like based on what you've seen the last couple of games? Because I think Dostal played against him last season as well.
The last time, yeah. I'll take the quote from Django Unchained by Leo DiCaprio. He had my curiosity. Now that I've had the chance to see him play, he has my attention. Honestly, like the way that he defended that power play, just I came away very impressed with that, because the Wild handled the zone the entire time. Like they were rifling shots on net, getting the rebounds, sending it right back down, like circling the net. I don't know what more the Wild could have done in that instance for a power play that has relied too much on passes at points. Honestly, I came away from that power play and I was like, that was really good puck movement by the Wild, and Dostal was able to just turn them away. So the fact that he's able to handle those types of pressure situations, that's impressive for a young goalie for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it was a literal firing squad at times, like shot after shot after shot, and the defense leaving him high and dry. Again, like Dostal did everything he could, and the defense just letting him down time and time again. I mean, it felt like expected goals could have been like 6-1.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, 6 to less than 1. Because less than 1.
0.93.
Sorry, Ducks fans. I know some fans hate it when I'm too honest, but under 1, come on.
Yeah.
All right, we're running against it. So we're going to head to the second intermission really quickly, talk about goaltending more. And I will give credit where credit's due. Marc-Andre Fleury was a beast on this one when he needed to. We'll talk about that on the other side. Now, a brief word from Ibotta. Grocery bills are stupid expensive these days, but now they don't have to be. Start getting cash back on your grocery shopping with the free Ibotta app and get cash back every time you shop, including, for those in SoCal, Knott's Berry Farm boysenberry cookies. I ate them all, by the way. Ibotta is a free app that gives you the most cash back every time you shop on many items, including cookies, also beauty supplies and toys. So make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. Join the over 50 million users and earn cash back every time you shop from over 2,700 brands and retailers, including Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora. Oh, I love Sephora. Best Buy and more. I do. Right. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta using the code LOCKEDONNHL when you register. It's one of those games, folks. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back and use code LOCKEDONNHL. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store and use code LOCKEDONNHL. Once again, IBOTTA, and that spells Ibotta. Can you tell I'm in a mood, Seth?
I love that.
By the way, happy Pie Day to those that celebrate Pie Day. Yes, I had my pie. I had cookies and pie.
Double
dip. That's depression, not depression eating, but that is watching the Ducks get shots against them type of eating.
We should just call that the eighth stage of grief. Or maybe it needs to be a little higher up the scale. Is like after acceptance, it's like comfort food eating.
Oh, that pie was good, by the way. It was delicious.
I bet. I had a couple of cookies with Subway for dinner. So I got
you see this bag, it's all empty. Like I ate the whole thing. Although Knott's Berry Farm boysenberry is delicious. All right. I'm showing my Patos, the Anaheim jersey. Now I'm going to go on the other side and show the Iowa Wild jersey because I don't know if I want to talk about the Ducks anymore. This team is terrible. So instead, we're going to talk about Marc-Andre Fleury, his 75th career shutout. By the way, one behind 10th place in all-time shutouts. I don't know if you saw this, by the way.
I did not.
Oh, well, let me tell you this. With his 75th shutout, he is 12th all-time shutouts. One more and he gets tied for 10th. So this begs the question, which I'll ask you, and then I'll give my answer. Is Marc-Andre Fleury a top 10 goalie of all time? Let's just throw stuff at the wall, see what sticks.
In Minnesota Wild history, yes. Because how crazy is this? Like, Fleury is already, and I know it's not like we're talking about 70 years of team history. He's 7th all time in Wild history in wins with 48. Behind
who are the goalies on top? Okay, so is Gustafsson up there?
Nicholas Backstrom is number 1. Devin Dubnyk, Manny Fernandez, Dwayne Rollison, Josh Harding, and he is 3 behind Cam Talbot for 6th all time.
Oh, Cam Talbot, the current Los Angeles Kings goalie.
Yeah.
Which I promised I'd come back to this, and I will in a second. Let's have a little fun here. Do you put Marc-Andre Fleury as top 10 all-time NHL?
I mean, boy, this is tough. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes, just because, longevity is part of the puzzle. Obviously, it has led to him being able to put up as many records and numbers as he has. But another thing that I like that people do when going through and trying to determine like best all time is the ones that really like change the game. And Fleury, with his animated style, his flashy play, has made a massive impact on the NHL throughout his time. He's won a couple of Stanley Cups. He has been beloved by all of his teammates. Like,
everywhere he goes too.
Find somebody that doesn't like Marc-Andre Fleury, and I will find you a liar. Unless you're a fan of one of the teams that he broke their heart in the postseason. Maybe those.
Well, then Red Wings fans hate him.
Yeah, Red Wings fans probably do. But
yeah, and they deserve it right now because of that trash patch. But
boy, they are in a
they haven't won a game since putting on the garbage patch.
Oof.
Just saying. But back to top 10 of all time. So you put him in top 10?
I'll put him in top 10. I think he has made enough of an impact that I would definitely put him in that upper echelon. Certainly a Hall of Famer for sure, but I would say, yeah, top 10. And there's a lot of years to pick from. There are a lot of goalies to pick from, but I'll put him in the top 10.
I'll put him in the top 10 for this reason. He won the Vezina Trophy 3 years ago. He won the Jennings Trophy 3 years ago. People forget that was a resurrection of Marc-Andre Fleury. Like, he proved to all the haters that thought he was done the year before, that 2020 and 2019 part where people thought he's starting to get done. He proved them all absolutely wrong. And he showed him what he's made of. So for him to come back at that age and win the Jennings and Vezina, that to me said, oh, he's a GOAT. He is one of the greatest of all time.
Honestly, finding a way to win 19 games in 45 starts for Chicago is probably up near the top of his accomplishments list too.
That was a crappy Chicago team too.
Oh, I remember like they got him and they're like, yeah, we're going to go on this run. And they just didn't.
No.
It's like, no, you guys are not good.
No, but they were horrendous.
Yeah.
But I know he's beloved forever in Pittsburgh for those 3 cups, including the last 2, the back-to-backers, where he still looked good. Even though that third one, he was kind of getting pushed out by, I think it was Tristan Jarry at the time. He still can show that he can lead. He can lead a team. He can.
it just goes to show you too. I think he's been in Minnesota for parts of 3 seasons, 2 full seasons, but parts of 3. One of the more widely regarded players on this team and that has come through this franchise over the last probably in Wild history. Like he just has had that big of an impact. And it's funny too, at this point in his career, I keep trying to tell myself this to just regardless of the results for him have been fantastic lately, but just enjoy the ride. Like just enjoy watching one of the best to ever do it execute at a high level and have fun doing it. I don't know if there is a single night in which he doesn't enjoy being out there.
Oh, that's what I love the most about Marc-Andre Fleury. He's having fun. He's, getting with his teammates, smiling. By the way, top 10 in shutouts. Broder, 125. Terry Sawchuk, 103. George Hainsworth, 94. Glenn Hall, 84. Jacques Plante, 82. Alex Connell, Dominic Hasek, and Tiny Thompson tied with 81. Then Roberto Luongo at 77. Ed Belfour and Tony Esposito at 76. Right behind them, Marc-Andre Fleury now at 75. I think he's got another shutout in him. I think he can get to top 10 there. So
he might have 4 or 5 in him by the end of the season.
Easily top 10 for me.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the top 3 for me is still going to be Hasek and Wah and Broder. Those are my top 3 of all time. As a lot of people, but yeah, Fleury.
Of those guys, it feels like even as good as Fleury has been, like those 3 are still head and shoulders above everybody else.
But I put Fleury right up there.
Yeah.
And you know where he could really cement it? He could cement it if he can help lead the Wild to the playoffs, which I guess is my final overall look at things. And I briefly touched on this on your podcast. The Wild have a shot.
Yeah.
They have a shot at the playoffs. And I've mentioned the 3 teams they're chasing: Vegas, Nashville, the Los Angeles Kings. I know Ducks fans want to see the failure of the Kings. Out of those 3 teams, I think they're the one that are the most vulnerable. Would you agree with that?
I think so. The Kings have always done as well as their goaltending. Like goaltending was fantastic to start the season. It fell off a cliff, and
when it fell off when Phoenix Copley got hurt.
Yeah. It's kind of started to come back a little bit, but the other big thing too that I was just floored by is how bad of a season Pierre-Luc Dubois is having.
Oh God.
Like, are you kidding me?
I've seen the memes. I've seen the stats. I've seen Kings fans personally that I've talked to that don't understand the falling off a cliff from Pierre Dubois. Like, it's so bad.
Yeah. How would this be for a scenario? The Wild play at the Los Angeles Kings on April 15th on a Monday. How would this be? A win and in for the Minnesota Wild and the Vegas Golden Knights, and Vegas fans having to cheer for Marc-Andre Fleury to beat the Los Angeles Kings to get in.
Oh my God. There's some fans that are going to be torn. You know there are.
There will be more than a few people that will have some internal dilemmas on that scenario.
Mm-hmm. If it comes down to that game on April 15th, Minnesota and the Kings, if the Kings lose that game and it comes down to the last spot, the sky is going to be falling in Los Angeles because they were expected to be a top 3 team in the division, and they can't even get a wild card right now. I think that would put the Kings as the most disappointing team in the NHL this season.
Well, and they don't have really any choice but to continue to try to further this because of all the different players that they've traded away. And If you know a Kings fan, do not mention the name Gabe Vilardi to them, because
We're not going to go there, but I used to call him overrated. I used to.
that dude realized that he had an opportunity in Winnipeg after he got traded, and he has taken advantage of it.
Yeah, he's no longer overrated.
He is properly rated.
Yeah. As a King, he was overrated.
Yeah, what is Pierre-Luc Dubois at right now? Oh,
not much. Not much. You just saw it. He just saw the numbers, folks.
14 goals, 14 assists.
Yeah,
in 65
he's fallen
games.
off. Yep. There was a month stretch where he didn't have a point.
Thank goodness they extended him too.
I know Ducks fans are salivating at the thought. Imagine this. The Ducks play the Kings towards the end of the season. Can you imagine the Schadenfreude? Can you imagine? Ducks fans are going to celebrate like it's 2007. If they beat the Kings in the last week of the season to knock them out of the playoffs.
Oh my!
Ducks fans are going to celebrate.
That would be the Ducks equivalent of the Stanley Cup right now, is knocking a team out of the postseason, especially a Pacific Division rival.
And then all of Minnesota would have to send some steaks over or send some beers towards Anaheim's way.
I would be
which we'll gladly take.
Yeah, I would be happy to for some assistance.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're way over time, but it's a Friday. Who cares? Can you tell I didn't want to talk much about the Ducks because it's more fun to talk about everything else. It's more fun
to go down different rabbit holes to talk about Marc-Andre Fleury's place in the top 10 all time for NHL goalies.
It's more fun to talk about the possible Schadenfreude of the Ducks knocking the Kings out. I think I'd find that I find it more hilarious than anything.
It's almost too poetic if that's the way it happens.
Yeah, like
it will be very worth it.
Because I believe the Kings did this the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
I do.
Yeah.
They didn't need to spend all that money on Pierre Dubois. They didn't have to gut some of their prospect pool. They didn't have to give away some of the guys that they've given away. So in a way, it would be poetic that this is not how you build a team. So GM Pat Verbeek, if you're paying attention, what the Kings are doing, don't do that. Do not do that.
Detailed notes. This is what you don't do.
Yeah. You don't give away all the good prospects or even the middle prospects. Let the young kids build up and let the kids play. Hey, I said it once. All right. We're going to wrap up here. I tried to make you feel at home with the beanie. Why don't you tell all the fine folks where they can find your work, where they can find you online and all that jazz?
Yeah. We will have a chance to cross paths again next week. So make sure to check out Locked on Wild if you want a little intel on the Minnesota Wild before that matchup. You can find us on all your favorite social media platforms, on YouTube. Just search Locked on Wild and you'll find what you're looking for. As far as myself goes, you can follow me for all sorts of different sports things on X at Seth Toups. I try to be funny. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So follow along there as well, and just keep on rolling through to the rest of the regular season.
Because your team has hope. That's why.
We try.
You could find me online at StimpyJD. That's right down there. Comme ça. You can also find the show's Twitter at LO_Ducks. And you know what I'm going to do next week, Seth? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to open up the mailbag.
Ooh.
Oh, this could be disastrous, folks. Because I know how Ducks fans are feeling right now. They're feeling something and it's not fun.
Get those questions in.
So lockedonanaheimducks@gmail.com, or you could message me on Twitter X, or a couple of you that have my phone number that have been texting questions already. Keep them coming. We'll see how this goes. Seth, once again, thanks for coming on. And I suppose we'll do this again next week after the Wild invariably beat the Ducks 5-1. Watch that be the score.
Insert Ghostbusters. We got one.
I'll take one at this point. I will take one.
It's those small victories.
Yeah, no more shutouts. We've been shut out 7 times already this season. Let's not make it 8.
Leave that title to Chicago. They can have that one.
Yeah, they have 9, by the way. Seth, once again, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
For Seth and myself, Locked on Wild, this is Locked on Ducks saying have a great weekend, everyone. We made it to the weekend. Hallelujah. Whew. Please remember to be safe out there. Be kind to one another, including the Ducks fans, folks. And Ducks fly together. Cuckoo, cuckoo. That's a pigeon, not a duck. Quack, quack, quack.